this afternoon from Aiken County. We posted that entire interview on the website along with links to back-to-school resources.
New today, the Arts in the Heart of Augusta Festival has been canceled because of COVID-19. It's one of the biggest events in our area. Celeste Springer talked to organizers today. She joins us live from downtown Augusta. Celeste?
Yeah, 80,000 people were supposed to gather right here at the Augusta Commons for the Arts in the Heart Festival, but that makes you a little nervous. No worries, the Greater Augusta Arts Council has said that they're canceling that event. Here's a look at what could have been. 150 arts and craft vendors, 150 arts and craft vendors, as well as 20 international food vendors, 5 stages of nonstop entertainment over 2.5 days. All of those food vendors can be found locally, but arts and craft dealers travel from all over the country for this event. Organizer Brenda Duran says despite how devastating the cancellation is to the community, people she talked to said they understand it's what had to be done.
The response has been overwhelmingly understanding with sadness, and I think that's the general feeling, like, I'm so sad that it won't happen, but I totally understand why it can't.
Duran says that all of the people who put down money for a booth as a vendor will be getting full refunds. This event was supposed to be the 40th anniversary festival. Obviously, that's not happening this year, but they're going to be celebrating next year, and Duran says it'll be a great time for a redo. In the meantime, any vendors who want to get started for next year, for that event next year, the registration for starting a booth opens in February and March.
Celeste, thank you. If you'd still like to view and shop for local art samples, that'll be available online this year. We have more details on our website.
Certainly a great event. We look forward to it returning. Let's have a live look here at Wheeler.
Since the pandemic started, more than 14,000 people filed their initial jobless claim last week. That's an almost 5,000 claim drop from the week before. In the last 18 weeks, the total number has reached over 685,000.
Those numbers come out for Georgia tomorrow, but a lot of people in the Peach State say their unemployment claims are taking way too long to process. Georgia's Department of Labor Commissioner says the normal process can take up to 21 days, and that's without a pandemic. That's because unemployment is not something you just sign up for and get automatically. They're working to speed up the process, but they say the numbers are overwhelming.
There's only so many hours in a day that you can work. There was a lot of you guys work 24 hours. Well, I mean, the staff does have to sleep. They do have to get rest. They're already working, 10, 12-hour days, 7 days a week. And even though our career centers are not open to the public, those people are showing up for work every single day.
Butler says 91% of claims are being paid out, but that still leaves about 100,000 claims with issues. He says that could be causing the delay in getting your benefits.
New details from the South Carolina Department of Education on school buses. The department says buses will only be 50% capacity. The buses will be loaded back to front, and students and bus drivers will be expected to wear masks. They'll also use electrostatic sprayers filled with medical-grade cleaning solution to sanitize the buses. The goal is to have 2 sprayers at each of the 180 state bus parking locations. DHEC says the sprayers will be used after the morning and afternoon routes. It's the final day of drive-through graduation ceremonies for Richmond County seniors. Here's a look at seniors at the Performance Learning Center receiving their diplomas this afternoon. There's one more ceremony that's scheduled for Butler High School at 6 o'clock. Earlier today, seniors at the Richmond County Technical Career Magnet School received their diplomas also.
We are keeping a close eye on Tropical Depression 8 in the Gulf of Mexico. Let you know where this storm is heading and a look at our weekend forecast coming up.
After all those musical performances were canceled around the world, British scientists decided to learn more about the relationship between the coronavirus and singing. Gwen Baumgartner shows us how researchers are turning to a classic song for this latest study.
Researchers call it surgical theater. Musicians wearing scrubs, a hospital room for a stage, and only one song to perform.
Happy birthday to you.
It's been dubbed the Happy Birthday Study, developed by researchers at Bristol University and Imperial College to determine the safety of singing during a pandemic.
We know that when you speak, much the same as when you cough or sneeze. You generate a lot of very small particles.
The World Health Organization maintains that COVID-19 can be transmitted through respiratory droplets. While a 6-foot distance may protect from nearby talking and breathing, little is known about how far particles spread while singing or playing music.
What we are calling for is more systematic research to be done in these types of settings. So it's not just how and when transmission happens, it's the settings in which they happen.
In this study, participants sing or play into a funnel. Scientists then record how many particles are exhaled and the distance they travel. Researchers say they've heard the classic tune more than 1,000 times in the past few weeks. While the study is still underway, scientists hope their findings can determine whether additional precautions are needed for musicians and whether governments can safely allow musical performances to return, allowing people to catch a tune and nothing else. Gwen Baumgartner, CBS News, London.
Researchers say if they hear that song one more time, no, I'm kidding, they really say they chose the birthday song because that's the one everybody knows. It can be done in a variety of octaves and styles. And you know what, Zeta? It's a lot easier than anybody's national anthem.
That's very true. This would be such a neat study to be a part of. I wouldn't mind singing the happy birthday song a million times if I had to.
And yours is coming up in August. We were just talking about that, so it won't be long. It also has something to do with church. You know, the church choirs and singing, that has a lot to do with restarting that kind of worship as well. So, interesting study.
Interesting there. More news ahead. We're going to take a quick look over the Aiken Tower.
Heart Association for details. On your side, this is News 12 at 6 o'clock.
Arts in the Heart, it usually brings thousands to downtown Augusta. Canceled this year. We look at the impact that will have.
Plus, hand sanitizer seems safe, but our I-team is learning there are dozens of brands with a toxic ingredient. We'll tell you how to make sure you're not buying the wrong kind.
And mask mandates in both Augusta and Aiken, and there hasn't been a single ticket given out for someone not wearing one. We look at how the mandates are being enforced. But first this evening, a huge blow to Augusta with Arts in the Heart canceled. Last year, the 3-day event brought in more than 80,000 people downtown.
Celeste Springer is live for us downtown. It'll be a lot emptier in September than usual.
Yeah, the Augusta Commons is pretty empty right now, and I'm being told that it will stay empty come September. The people at the Greater Augusta Arts Council have canceled their festival, which usually brings in over $1.7 million to the Augusta area.
We really thought that by now, by September, that we would be in much better shape.
Brenda Duran is Executive Director of the Greater Augusta Arts Council.
The question we asked the city was, if we hold the festival, if we were holding the festival right now, could we hold it? And the answer was no. And we couldn't guarantee that anything was going to change as the summer progressed.
And just like that, 20 international food vendors, 110 arts and craft dealers, and tons of live music gone. Duran says despite the disappointment, people get it.
And the response has been overwhelmingly understanding with sadness. And I think that's the general feeling, like, I'm so sad that it won't happen, but I totally understand why it can't.
But the decision doesn't come without 80,000 people missing out on something she says tied the community together.
And we make sure that everyone who comes sees themselves at the festival. Augusta is a home to so many different people from all over the world. We want to make sure that everyone knows that they are welcome here and that there's a place for them here.
This year was the 40th anniversary for the festival, and Duran says they're redoing the celebration next year. Vendors will be getting money back in their pockets. Duran says that any vendors who paid booth fees will be fully refunded.
But such a loss. Celeste, thanks for the live update there from downtown. Earlier today on First at 4 on NBC 26, I had a live interview with Aiken County School Superintendent King Lawrence. He says they want students and teachers back in the classroom, but only when it's safe to do that. And I asked him if he felt any pressure to change the district's plan because of the governor's request for a 5-day in-person learning.
Well, and that's the reason that we chose to have a second meeting on Tuesday night, because we had just approved a plan, which we think is a very good plan for parents to have two choices, one choice being a virtual option, a complete virtual option, and the other being we call it a transition to traditional, because we want to be in a traditional 5-day-a-week model just as quickly as we can be. But we feel like we've got to take a measured approach to that and do that slowly. So we had just approved that plan. And so when the governor made his announcement, we just decided that out of respect for him and out of respect for the many people who agreed with that recommendation, that we did need to take another look at it. We needed to listen to more of our community. We needed to listen to the pediatricians, to parents, to our teachers, and revisit it.
The Aiken School Superintendent also had messages for teachers and parents as they head back to school. We posted the full interview for you on our website.
And we're learning if your kid is taking the bus to school in South Carolina, they will be expected to wear a mask. That's what the State Department of Education says. It's not mandatory, just expected. Same goes for bus drivers. Buses will also be at half capacity with windows and roof vents open. There will also be hand sanitizer, and buses will be cleaned at least once a day.
We've talked a lot about masks over the last few weeks with new ordinances and requirements in place. We checked with local law enforcement and found no one has actually gotten a ticket yet.
But how are ordinances like the ones in Aiken and Augusta impacting local businesses? Brady Trapnell went to find out.
We've all seen people not wearing masks in places they should be. But instead of harsh citations or confrontations, it seems in most situations, people are choosing to work together. It's just like no shirt, no shoes, no service, except it's no mask, no service.
Stores do not have to allow somebody with an exemption into their premises.
Aiken Public Safety Captain Craig Burgess says despite that sounding harsh, everyone seems to be cooperative. They've received 13 calls for service since the mandate started a week ago.
In most cases, it was simply a means of education. In a couple of cases, was just a misunderstanding of the ordinance.
I think everybody wants to be safe and is willing to do their part.
Aiken Chamber President David Jameson says some businesses may see an increase in traffic because some people feel safer when everyone is wearing a mask.
I think the fear of what might have been scared people, but you weigh that against the fact that let's try this instead of closing down again.
In Augusta, the Downtown Development Authority says there's been little negativity, and businesses are handling it. Richmond County Dispatch says they've received one call about a mask violation. That could be a benefit to businesses and each other.
Our goal is education. Let's just get through this phase, and hopefully South Carolina will be in a better place for Aiken having done its part to try to mitigate this pandemic.
Law enforcement says if you see someone not wearing a mask, make sure you talk to the store owner or manager first. Let them handle it or call an officer if it's necessary. Reporting in Augusta, Brady Trapnell on your side.
Thanks, Brady, for that. Aiken Public Safety says the only time someone would be arrested under the ordinance is if they're asked to leave and refuse.
We are learning today someone tested positive for COVID-19 at a local child care center. Officials with Head Start over on Deansbridge Road say they have closed down their summer program. It was supposed to end tomorrow, but parents have been advised and the staff there has also been tested.
Cases keep rising.
In South Carolina, 1,500 new cases to report. That includes new cases in Aiken, Barnwell, and Edgefield counties. 49 more people have died.
More news ahead as we get a quick update from meteorologist Riley Hell. Riley, what can we expect?
As you can see from our Grovetown cam, we got a few downpours heading towards the Augusta Metro. So if you do live here in Augusta, Aiken, Grovetown, Evans, we are tracking some better coverage of showers now entering our area. Most of these storms have been staying south of Augusta, but they've been moving inland thanks to the sea breeze front. And actually the strongest storms right now in northern Johnson County, just north of Kite. And that's a fairly good storm there, producing a good bit of lightning and very heavy rain. A closer look at the Augusta Metro. So here's 520. We got some spotty downpours just south of town in southern Richmond County, just outside of Hephzibah. And then over SRS in southern Aiken County, a good little downpour there. And you can see the rest of these are very small. So if you do get lucky and see some rain, it should help cool you off. But these storms are only going to be active the next couple of hours, anytime after 10, 11 o'clock, looking completely dry. We'll have an update on the tropics in our weekend forecast in about 10 minutes.
Hand sanitizers are increasingly back in stock across the country. That's the good news.
Yeah, but the FDA says there are 75 brands to avoid because they have a harmful chemical, one that could be deadly.
The I-Team's Meredith Anderson tells us how to make sure you're not buying the wrong hand sanitizer.
Washing our hands with soap and water for 20 seconds is one of the most powerful things we can do to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. But when there is no sink nearby, many of us reach for hand sanitizer. But are we risking our health instead of protecting it? The I-Team found the Food and Drug Administration is warning they've seen a sharp increase in hand sanitizer products containing methanol. The FDA says methanol, or wood alcohol, is a substance that can be toxic when absorbed through the skin or ingested, and can be life-threatening when ingested. What's more, the FDA says they've seen cases of adults and children ingesting hand sanitizer products contaminated with methanol that has led to recent adverse events, including blindness, hospitalizations, and death.
Those that were formulated in Mexico contained methanol, and methanol is a grain alcohol that usually is used in solvents and fuel and antifreeze, but it can be absorbed through the skin.
Dr. Dindy Engelman is a board-certified dermatologic surgeon based in New York City, the previous epicenter for coronavirus in the United States.
This is absolutely something that should not be put onto our skin, because people don't realize that 60% of what we put on our skin can be absorbed into our bloodstream.
The I-Team found there are now 75 brands you need to avoid after the FDA spot tested them and found methanol. We combed through the ever-growing list of banned brands and found so far they have all come from Mexico. So while keeping up with 75 different brands wouldn't be easy, you should check to see where the hand sanitizer you're using is manufactured and what ingredients it contains.
I couldn't encourage people enough to actually check the labels, just like you do when you're reading food. What you want to look for are ethanol, at least 60%, or isopropyl alcohol.
Dr. Engelman says hand sanitizers made from U.S. distilleries are considered safe. That's because they have access to ethanol. That's the alcohol you want at 60% or greater in your hand sanitizer. The I-Team found the FDA's investigation into hand sanitizers containing methanol is ongoing. Adding methanol is not an acceptable active ingredient for hand sanitizers and must not be used due to its toxic effects. So, one more thing to triple check for your health in a time where we're already feeling overwhelmed.
And that's what I hate, is that, like, in a place where we're supposed to feel safe and doing right, that these contaminated products are out there potentially doing harm when people aren't even aware.
Meredith Anderson there has us reading the labels. We're going to link you to that full list of those 75 brands under review and recall by the FDA inside Meredith's story on the website, wrdw.com.
Free coronavirus testing today at Citizens Park in Aiken. Aiken Regional partnered with DHEC to make it happen. DHEC is holding a few more free testing sites in our area next week. We have a link to their schedule on our website. Just search DHEC.
And there is free coronavirus testing in McDuffie County. That's from 9 until 11 o'clock in the morning.
The final day of drive-through graduations at Richmond County Schools. This is live at Butler High School. They just got started and will go until 8 o'clock. The Performance Learning Center in the Richmond County Technical Career Magnet School also had their drive-throughs earlier today. Congratulations to all of our seniors.
We are watching Tropical Depression 8 in the Gulf of Mexico. That's going to affect the Louisiana and Texas Gulf Coast. Update on this storm in our weekend coming up.
Our I-Team following up on their investigation into brain injuries and our veterans being underreported. We look at the problem. That's to unfold in 1 minute.
Approve this message.
Tonight, the I-Team continues to expose a troubling trend, the potential for rising cases of CTE, not in football players, but in the U.S. military from repeated traumatic brain injuries while in combat.
On Monday, the I-Team uncovered TBIs are often underreported by the Department of Defense. And tonight, the I-Team's Laura Warren investigates why it's a twofold problem, including a tough guy culture within the ranks that comes from the very top.
January 2020, 15 Iranian missiles fired at U.S. troops at the Al-Assad Air Base in Iraq. 2,000 American troops taking cover while fiery bombs rained down from the night sky. No American casualties, but shortly after, concussions began to emerge among those injured.
No, I heard that they had headaches and a couple of other things, but I would say, and I can report, it is not very serious.
So you don't consider potential traumatic brain injuries serious?
No, I don't consider them very serious injuries relative to other injuries that I've seen.
At first, the Pentagon released it was only a handful of soldiers that suffered from a traumatic brain injury. Then it grew to 74, and by February, a whopping 109 TBIs had been diagnosed tied to that missile attack. The Pentagon said all 109 TBIs were classified as mild, despite 48 of those injured being airlifted thousands of miles away to a hospital in Germany. A previous I-Team report uncovered 82% of all TBIs recorded by the Department of Defense are marked mild, leading experts to believe the severity and the number of TBIs are being underreported.
You don't have to be unconscious to have a traumatic brain injury. The Army feels that that's the hallmark. You weren't unconscious? No problem. If I don't see blood, no problem. All those people injured with the recent Iran shelling that had TBI, they didn't have an open wound in their skull.
Dr. Patrick Lillard has treated soldiers returning home from war with brain injuries for more than 50 years. He tells me he's seen firsthand the effects of CTE long before we had the term to diagnose it. He says giving it a name is not enough. Now we have a crisis of culture within the U.S. military.
But ultimately, it comes down from the very top to say, we cannot allow this, that there's going to be literally hundreds of thousands of people that will be impacted by this in years to come.
Jerry Lida, founder of Canines for Veterans in Augusta, says he sees the long-term effects every day.
A lot of my PTSD patients are due to TBI, a lot of them.
It's also personal for Jerry. Not only is he a veteran himself, his father-in-law, a dedicated U.S. hero, suffered in silence for decades.
But he was in World War II. He was Korea and Vietnam twice. When he come home and got out, he had PTSD. We didn't, shell shock. But, and he, of course, he was told, good man, suck it up, deal with it.
Shell shock, exposure to multiple blasts in combat.
Yeah, he wasn't home 12 months. They sent him back to Vietnam. It was different then. But a lot of it is not any different than what it is now.
He passed away before he could see Jerry start Canines for Veterans in 2012.
A lot of your TBI patients have memory issues. They don't know when they're supposed to take their medications, so the dog is alerted on how to listen to sounds, to say, hey, I just heard it, you need to get up, go do this.
But he says it's more than just forgetting medication. TBIs can lead to erratic behavior.
I had a veteran, Vietnam era Special Forces, that got upset. He hit me in the throat with his cane. Was about to do it again. My training director grabbed him.
And that sort of thing, that's not a normal behavior.
No, it's not.
The wounds aren't always visible, but they run deep.
The suicide rate was 22 per day. Now it's down to 20 a day. A lot of contributing factors to that is because a lot of the Vietnam soldiers have already done it.
And it's about helping veterans before it's too late.
A young man that I saw that clearly had a traumatic brain injury, and he had changes on his MRI, and his behavior changed dramatically. He had 5 deployments. The general said before his separation board that there was no medical reason for his behavior and that he needed to be separated. So the separation board kicked him out. 3 months later, he killed himself.
The tough guy military attitude, seeing the wound, to believe the wound. It doesn't work in this case. But exposure to repeated blasts during multiple deployments, it's been happening since before Vietnam, and it still happens now.
Sending them back too soon, telling them, yeah, deal with it. You know, that's not right.
A guy is exposed during the military, and they say, see, he's fine. 10 years later, he starts to have trouble, and they say, well, there was no problem while he was on active duty. So it's not service-connected. He doesn't get the disability and the benefits that he deserves and the quality of care that he deserves.
Dr. Lillard says the treatment in the field, sending these guys back into battle after a TBI, it all has to change.
They put their ass on the line for you and me and our children. They volunteer, and they deserve better evaluation and treatment than they've gotten up to this point.
New resources are rolling out in Georgia to help veterans. There is a 2-week intensive outpatient program at Emory University, absolutely free for any Georgia veteran who served after September 11th. There you can get treatment for anxiety, depression, TBIs, or PTSD. Governor Kemp backed the free program as part of a federal effort to try to prevent veterans' suicides.
To weather now as we have a look outside, and Riley, we have a few showers popping up. Maybe that'll keep us from hitting 100 today, right?
I'm hoping we do get some rain relief here around Augusta. Another day back near 100 for high temperatures, and we are tracking a little bit better coverage of showers now popping up just outside of Bobby Jones. So nothing interior inside 520, but just south of town. There is a little tiny downpour near Hephzibah. Another one between Jackson and New Ellington and Aiken County. This is a classic example, folks, of just hit or miss showers. If they hit you, you see some heavy rain for a little bit, but if they miss you, you just stay completely dry. These are forming along the sea breeze front that started towards the coast, as now is all the way here inland, and expected to continue this spotty shower chance over the next couple of hours. After 9, 10 o'clock, we should see generally dry conditions, but do expect more storms again for your Friday afternoon. We are watching Tropical Depression 8. It has not strengthened all too much today, but it is anticipated to strengthen over the coming days, and that is why we already have tropical storm watches in effect for the Texas coastline. This storm is expected to just continue that westward track over the next few days. It will likely increase in intensity to a tropical storm tomorrow and then make landfall by later this weekend. It's mainly going to be a heavy rain event for Louisiana and Texas with that storm, not anticipating a whole lot of wind. Gonzalo hasn't strengthened too much more. We're up to 60-mile-per-hour winds near the eye of this, and it is continuing that westward track towards the southern windward islands. It is expected to reach the Caribbean by late this weekend into early next week, but by the time it does reach that, it is expected to encounter some inhibitors that is not going to allow it to strengthen all too much. But we will continue to watch Gonzalo, even though it is a good ways away from us. Our storm chances looking decent Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Most of these are going to be for your afternoon and evening hours, but one thing that we need to mention for your Friday is that there is going to be the potential for some stronger thunderstorms. This is a marginal risk of severe weather tomorrow, so it's a 1 out of 5 on our threat scale. And basically what this means is that any storms that do form, they could briefly produce some strong winds, heavy rain, lightning, but not expected a long duration of strong storms tomorrow. Just watch out for those storms for the weekend as well. High temperature is going to stay near normal the next few days.
Riley, thanks a lot. So many seniors robbed of their final season playing ball, but they're getting one more chance to take the field. Mike tells us more about that next in sports.
On your sideline, sports brought to you by the Hawk Law Group.
The loss of the spring sports season is still on the minds of plenty of athletes, parents, fans, and beyond. Plenty of seniors lost their opportunity to take the field for the last time or get their last at-bat, but some are getting that chance this weekend at SRP Park. Complete Game Baseball, run by former big leaguer Matt Childers and with help from current UGA baseball player Will Childers, is hosting a summer tournament through the weekend at the home of the Green Jackets. There are a number of seniors from the CSRA who are making this their last dance on the diamond.
Senior season, we were supposed to have a game at SRP Park, and we was pretty upset that our senior season got canceled, and I'm just glad we got a chance to play here.
The tournament's final round will be on Sunday. The concession stands are open as well. It's a great chance to say one last goodbye to the class of 2020. And it's opening day after all. Can't go to a big league game right now? Great way to get your baseball fix in by supporting the local guys. More sports coming up at 11. See you in a bit.
Any weekend plans up towards the lake, just watch out for those storms. Remember, if you can hear thunder, you are close enough to be struck by lightning. Another look at your 7-day forecast coming up.